Warning! This podcast contains spoilers for the second episode of Season 4 of Succession, the final season, and Season 2, Episode 2 of the Yellowjackets. Be warned. Hello, my name is Jason Concepcion.
And I'm Rosie Knight.
And welcome to X-Ray Vision, the Crooked Media podcast, where we dive deep into your favorite shows, movies, comics, and pop culture.
In this episode, previously on, we got something very exciting. Is our new Succession final season speed recaps, market moves in Airlock.
Oh!
Boom, 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 ding, ding,
bum,
ding.
bum, 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 bum.
In the Airlock is Yellowjackets Season 2, Episode 2. And you don't want to bet on those girls surviving because they are acting up. it's all happening. In the Nerd Out, Danielle's going to pitch us on a new character in Yellowjackets Season 2.
And of course, if you want to jump around, check the show notes for the timestamps coming up. Market moves, Succession, the final season. First up, we are entering the previously on to also enter Market Moves, our speed recap of the final season of Succession. Folks, it's tough out there. A lot of chaos in the marketplace these days. Bonds, stocks, crypto, it's all tanking. No one knows what's going on. When the market is punishing you, those are red bottoms. This is Market Moves. We open on the eve of Waystar's sale to the Swedish billionaire Lucas Mattsson's Gojo, and Logan Roy, head of the Roy family, is as cool as ever. He's excited. He can't wait for this new era of ATN, and he's celebrating by taking the kids' helicopter arrangements away from them and then going to ATN to harangue everybody and make a Hitler-esque speech about how this is now a pirate ship. Logan then puts his stamp on the up-and-coming new network, the new old ATN, by installing his girlfriend/assistant, Carrie, as an anchor, despite the fact that she is testing terribly on a tape that is currently making the rounds all throughout the New York media space. Our first segment.
Do not buy Kerry stocks.
Do not buy it. We are shorting Kerry stock. Our first question. Daddy's home. Are we long or short on Logan's ATM pirate ship era? You're pirates! All right!
He's saying fuck many times. He believes in it, but it's clear that he's going full Fox News. We always knew it was Murdoch, but he literally says, we're going to lie. We're going to cheat. We're going to say things other people will not say. We're pirates. We're doing things illegally. It's going full Fox News. Kerry is a big sign of that. It's honestly going to probably make him a ton of money. So I'm saying bye.
But you know what? I hate to say it. Listen, there's a big movement these days in investing towards investing according to your personal morals and political ideals. Obviously, Logan Roy and the Roy family are antithetical to everything I stand for. I'm buying. I'm big on this. I think it's going to be a massive, massive success. So fucking spicy. They can't believe what we said. I love it. I'm buying. What about the kids? What are the kids up to? Well, listen, the kids need that. They need that Gojo money. They need that Gojo loot. Because they just made a $10 billion bid for Pierce Global Media, a.k.a. PGM. Meanwhile, Shiv, Ken, and Roman, the Rebel Alliance, are watching PGM, and I gotta say, they find it pretty fucking boring, Rosie. They don't like the product that's currently on offer at PGM.
They bought MSNBC, and they're pissed about it. They didn't even read it. They didn't watch it first. Also, I just need to say, look, I was a hater of their previous choice to make the 100. It sounded terrible, but you know what? I'm with Romulus on this one. Stick with the 100. Do what you know, spend a little bit of daddy's money and do something that wasn't dangerous. 10 billion for this news? You don't know what to do with it. It's going to go terribly. And you did it. It's the most expensive fuck you to your dad that anyone has ever done.
Absolutely. It's delicious. Again, we're waiting on that Gojo sale money before they can really get off the hook for the $10 billion for PGM. It's professorial. It's boring. Watching it is like doing homework, and they can't wait to get their hands on it. Shiv walks out of the PGM Hate Fest to take a red-hot phone call from Sandy. This is the daughter of Sandy, who is incapacitated and, of course, is partnered up with Stewie, Ken's old pal. And they are saying, hey, this Gojo sale, it's a little underpriced, isn't it? What do we think about putting a squeeze on the old nuts of Mr. Lucas Matson? We squeeze those Swedish nuts and we get a little bit more juice out of them. What do you say about it? What do you say about it? She was like, I love it. She kind of very, very lightly, very softly pitches it to Ken and Romulus. And they're not interested. They don't want to do that. They're very happy with the price as it currently exists. Our second prompt. You hear about McGreb? What? McGreb and these nuts. How would you fix PGM? Ken says, McGreb, East Sub-Saharan Africa, West Sub-Saharan Africa. We go Africa all the time. Would you watch that? Jess, would you watch that? Jess is like, what? What the fuck?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? How would you fix PGM?
You got to fix them by just making it a Logan smear campaign. Every story is just about Logan. So Logan's terrible. ATN's terrible. And you just make that your only goal. That's the only, you're going to get those ratings. People are going to watch. Maybe you'll make some money. Maybe you won't. But also, just need to note here, Shiv is very open to this offer because she's getting divorced from Tom.
That's right. She needs
money.
It. Let's get into that. So Shiv discovers that her number 1 pick, number 2 pick, number 3 pick, number 4 pick, number 5, top 5 favorite divorce lawyers in New York City picks have been tied up by Tom on the advice of none other than Logan Roy, Shiv's own father.
She got mummed. She says
he
did the same shit that he did to their mom. That's so brutal.
It's absolutely brutal. And so now she's looking down the barrel of a divorce that might be a lot more expensive than she was expecting. She needs that Gojo money to go up. And quite a pickle that she finds herself in. I really love the way that everybody is like, there's really only one decision, which is like sell or sell for more money. Mm-hmm. And yet everybody has their own drama going on such that they can't help but backstab each other, even subtly. Constantly backstabbing each other.
This episode, I think, actually cements what's so great about Succession, which is every single character in this episode, apart from Greg, who's just catching mad jokes as always, but like everyone else has like a moment where you feel empathy for them, even though they're the fucking worst people on earth. And then
terrible humans.
Instantly, they remind you why you should have no empathy for them. And this episode is just full of that. Because Shiv gets horribly fucked over, but Shiv and Tom are so toxic. And also now, you know, Tom's coming for everything because he's finally in Logan's pocket. So I would be like, I understand Shiv. She needs more money. She needs more than 10 billion or whatever she was going to get because these idiots spent all that money on their library news channel.
I mean, speaking of Greg catching jokes, I absolutely cackled at the scene where Logan goes back to ATN, right, and he gives a speech standing on a stack of printer paper that
man of the people
that you absolutely could have translated into the original German, and then marched towards Austria on that speech, and he puts in place basically a reign of terror where he's micromanaging everyone like this big, huge red eye of Sauron that is looking at everything, including the pizza. He goes into the break room. He's like, why is all this fucking pizza here? And he gets in this. But then it turns out the pizza is a ruse so that he can talk to Tom privately about Carrie's
Yes. Can we also say he is standing in the center of this room and he is checking how many emails people send. He's complaining that they didn't just heat up the pizza in the microwave. They bought new pizza. Can we say Ike Perlmutter? This was feeling.
It really was.
Like there was some big Ike energy here. Not just Rupert Murdoch, but also Ike. But yeah, he really wants to talk to Tom, who, by the way, Tom was the one who lied to Logan and said the test tape was good so that Carrie would go on. I thought, Logan, I think he might be getting soft. I think the kids might be onto something. I thought Logan was going to fire Tom and say, why did you make me look stupid? Why would you say she was okay to go on if she wasn't? Instead, he's like, you get rid of her. She needs to be gone and it's on you.
More on that weakness in a bit, but I will say I absolutely agree. Number one, he's trying to, be the tough guy. I'd given this big speech when, it was not that long ago that he was having spells of an undiagnosed nature and pissing his fucking pants, unable to walk from the beach to the house out in the Hamptons when they're out visiting what's his face. He's trying to portray strength here. But back to my original a note about Greg catching jokes. Logan is like, what's pizza? There's already pizza here. We ordered more pizza. and Greg is like, well, to be fair, there is, there's a crust issue. There's a bit of a sog factor. All right, next. Lucas Matson FaceTimes Ken. He has gotten the kind of he's his ear to the street, and he's gotten word that the kids might be trying to leverage alongside Sandy and Stewie and get that price up. And he says, "Listen, absolutely fucking not. If you try to get more money out of me, I will pull out of this deal, and then you will all be fucked because you will not get that money, and I will be out of here."
And I just want to say, the absolute chaotic energy of Kendall and Matson on the phone together. This is the worst possible thing that could happen for everyone. Two fucking idiots, yeah? And Kendall is so consumed with bitterness and getting one over with Logan. This is just he could literally go in and he could just go in and be real and be like, this is what's going to happen. We need to keep the money. But no, he keeps it to himself because he wants to cause chaos. And he pretends, like you said, he backstabs Shiv. He backstabs Shiv by pretending it's a good idea and going along with her when really he is intent on fucking his dad one more time, even though he just made a $10 billion bid that he wanted to be that high. Kendall, I fucking hate him.
There's both Kendall and Lucas speak the language of therapy, and they use that language then as a weapon. Like Lucas has a great line here where he's like talking about pulling out of the deal, and he says, "Listen, that's coming across as aggressive. I know that's coding aggressive, but I'm just telling the truth. That's I'm not being aggressive right now. This is how I speak sometimes." And then Ken can't help but like drop numerous references to his Buddhist meditation practice. Meanwhile, Ken leaves that FaceTime smelling blood, and he thinks, uh-oh, we're onto something here. If Lucas is calling me in a non-aggressive panic about the price, I think we're onto something. I think we should squeeze. And he decides to join forces with Sandy and Stewie in that moment, sends a text to them, says, send me the stats. He looks at the stats and say, oh my God, we're underpriced. We're undervalued. What are we doing? Meanwhile, Logan, also getting wind of this, is actually impressed by the kids' squeeze, but they got some juice. They got some real fucking juice. Connor, meanwhile, whose marriage to Willa is falling apart before it even begins. Willa has fled her rehearsal dinner in a drunken panic. She is the bride and says
she was like I don't need to be here.
Yeah, I don't really. They can do this without me. Right? Connor is shaken to the core, but he's putting on a good kind of facade, and he makes his siblings take him to a regular person bar where guys work with their hands and they got sweat on their hands and there's blood in their hair.
I like those guys.
I know. And then he wants to go to karaoke like he's seen in the movies.
Oh, that line. This is what I mean. That is a line that is delivered with so much sadness. Like, I've seen it in the movies and no one wants to go with me. And you're like, oh, poor Connor. And then you get more poor Connor as you go on. But then you remember he is like stalking Willa and is just absolutely insane.
It's so funny.
The karaoke bar showdown, I never saw it coming and I couldn't be happier.
Oh my God! And he sings a Leonard Cohen song.
Oh, it's so depressing.
Which just makes you want to die. And then Logan, a true sign of Logan's desperation and how absolutely on his fucking knees in a way like we have never seen before.
I know. I was trying to work out the play, but I don't actually think it was a play. I think the play was going there and being vulnerable.
I think the play is here's my read on it. So Logan drags himself to the karaoke club to apologize to the kids for cutting them out of the family holding company and all the various things he's done. And they're like, specifically, what are you apologizing for? And the only thing he can come up with is the helicopter thing from that day.
Yeah, everyone's like, what about when you used to like beat Roman? What about like ignoring Connor his whole life? What about the fact that you gave Tom all of Shiv's divorce lawyers?
And so they just absolutely, they give it to him. They just pile on Logan and really humiliate him. Not to mention Carrie, who I think that this is Carrie's idea. In my mind, my headcanon is that Carrie has been telling Logan, hey, be more open, be more vulnerable with the kids. If anything, just pretend.
Yeah, like on a cynical level, it will work.
Yeah, on a cynical level, because it'll disarm them and it'll just make everything easier. And so I think this is her move a little bit. Yeah. And it also gives, Carrie's, of course, there, and this gives the kids an opportunity to absolutely lambaste her about her tape. They let her know that they've seen it. That lets her know that, yes, this tape is circulating. And she is humbled, we should say, after that. Here is our third prompt. What's love? What's love got to do it? What's love but a plant that lives on dead insects? What's the most devastating, humbling in this episode? Is it Logan going to the karaoke club to tell his kids he's sorry? Willow walking out on her wedding rehearsal and Khan spying on her / stalking her through his phone? Or Shiv's inability to hire a divorce attorney and feeling grieved because the man who she told on their wedding day that she wanted to have an open relationship has somehow gotten the upper hand on her in this divorce. Your thoughts? What is the most devastating, humbling?
I do think if we look at the players and we look at the landscape, it is Logan going to a karaoke club to apologize.
Yeah,
Connor wanted
really
to be at the karaoke club, and he actually found a way to trick and guilt his family into doing it. So he won there in a small way, even though Willow walked out. That's on Connor anyway, because he was trying to force her into doing like a stunt wedding to get his 1% in the polls. And you know what? Shiv and Tom, that's just their own fucked up shit, and he's going to keep going on. But Logan apologizing, first of all, never happens. Being in that room with the like bisexual lighting and the kids are just fucking roasting him, which, by the way, I think was part of the reason he went, because he early is trying to get people to roast him. And at his birthday party, he's like, please roast me. Come on, give me. And he's missing that combative, toxic bullshit that he has with his kids.
He missed his kids. He missed his kids.
And I think that combined with Kerry realizing that she has, as I think it's Roman who says it, he's like, congrats on having your betrayal cherry popped. Like, she realizes that she's not special to Logan. She's there to be used and fucked over as much as anyone else.
You're just the next one. You're just the current girlfriend. That's all. I agree with you. I think it's Logan. We've never seen him on his knees like this. We've never seen him without a card. Like, he has no move.
He has no move, and they reject him. That's like the biggest thing. It doesn't even work.
And it doesn't even. And recall, this is why this show is so genius, but partially, is it closes a loop. If you're calling season 1, Logan takes Ken to, I think, a Vaulter meeting, and it's very acrimonious, and they agree on a price, and then Logan and Ken walk out, and Logan looks at Ken and goes, go back in there and ask him for $20 million more. You say, we're walking away unless you get more. And he's like, what? We just agreed on they barely agreed to it. He's like, go in there and fucking do it. Now they're doing it to his dad. When Shiv says, very simply, just go in there and ask him for more money. I mean, they're exactly right. It's exactly what Logan would have done if he still had his fastball. And it's very, very sad and also satisfying to see Logan, who is a horrendous person, and very generous when it comes to, only the generational trauma that he passes on to his children. In this position, it is very, very satisfying. Final verdict. We see at the end of this episode that Roman, who has tried to say that the text that he got from his dad was just merely a continuation of the happy birthday wishes that he texted their father. Turns out that no, they're actually quite close still, and that Roman, who has always been conflict averse and is really the guy when Logan is like, roast me, that's who he wants that Roman energy. Will Roman stay with the Rebel Alliance or go back to suckle on the somewhat dried up but still pendulous bosom of Big Daddy Logan? Which way will he go?
I sadly think it's the latter. I think the reason that is saddest is because I truly believe in that moment, Logan would have made that same offer to any of the kids who walked in. Like, I'm sure he'd been sitting there and he's like, it's probably going to be Roman, but if it was Ken, I'll offer him the same thing. If it's Shiv, I'll offer her the same thing, but with divorce lawyers. He knew what to say in that moment. He had his cards back. I don't want you there. I need you.
Yeah,
that's what all of them want to hear.
Yeah.
And my dream for this, my dream outcome is that Roman goes with Logan but ends up fucking him over. I think of all of them, I feel like he deserves it the most to really get that final fuck you.
They kept him in a dog cage.
Literally! I think Kendall, I like your read. Look, Kendall knows the business and stuff, but I think the reason Kendall's so excited about this is because I think he believes that Mattson will walk, and I think he wants that ultimate final fuck off. But I think Roman's on Team Logan for now.
I lean that way as well. I do think that that Logan had that offer or similar kind of Godfather offer in store for any of his kids, and his offer, it's very short on specifics, but it's basically like, run ATN at my side, as my Darth
and run
Vader.
It as you. Run it as the like brutal, hardcore, roast me, like fuck you. It's also very smart because it basically is like, you can do the 100. Like, you're still going to get your own news place, but it's going to be ATN, You're going to have to hide all the bodies.
One more question, because I was unsure about this. So when Shiv calls Sandy, she says, hey, if that offer that you made is still in play, I think I'm willing to lobby the brothers to up the price. Now, if I recall correctly, that offer was chief of staff of the White House. Like, so is that what? Do you think that that's what it is? Like, the new president comes in. There's a new election
or
and
political.
Then,
but I think it's very rare for Shiv is not a desperate person. So I think it's more about weighing up, well, I need more money. What else can I get from it? I mean, that would be so nightmarishly unhinged. And I mean, look, I'm going to make a prediction. Don't bet your money on it. But I think I can see from these first 2 episodes, ATN, Logan wants to make it successful. We have Connor in politics. I think we can see where this kind of horrific nightmare is going to lead. So Shiv also being in that political space would make a lot of sense.
Well, we're going to be continuing to cover the Gojo merger, the latest ongoing news at ATN, the beleaguered PGM network, right here on Market Moves. Up next, Yellowjackets. We're stepping out of the airlock for an enchanted forest feast.
Yum.
For season 2, episode 2 of Yellowjackets on the beleaguered Showtime network.
It's beleaguered, but it's doing great.
It's really the episode. Man, this series continues to be a lot to dig into. This episode is titled Edible Complex. Haha, good pun. Written by Jonathan Lisco and directed by Ben Seminoff.
We're back in the meat shed, and things are getting even weirder. It's cold, winter's here, and Jackie is straight up taunting Shauna. She's walking around. She's representing Shauna's fractured psyche while saying to her, hey, there's no food. What are you going to do? You got a baby.
It's very, very troubling.
It's incredibly troubling, and Shauna is struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the rest of the survivors are cooking dinner, which is not yet human, and they're sort of wondering about Shauna's mental health, which I feel like should have probably happened before, but, we get an insight into why they haven't done anything yet, which is Lottie insists that the group just need to, leave her be. She's still mourning. But Ty and Natalie are like, bro, she's in there every night, freezing to death, talking to her dead best friend in the meat shed. we need to do something. And it's quickly becoming clear that Ty and Natalie are sort of becoming like the parents of the group. They're in charge of what people eat, where they poop. There's a big poop argument this episode.
Don't poop in any kind of vessel and leave it in the cabin.
House. By the way, somebody in our Discord pointed this out, but Poopgate, it was probably Ty. I believe this. It was probably nighttime Ty.
I think it was nighttime Ty as well. Although, did she? Here's the question: did she do it in her room with Van and then bring it down,
right?
Or did she pop it
did
right
she
there
do it on the way in the middle of the room? And it's obvious. It's really interesting because it shows that there's like this nighttime Ty. She's dangerous.
Yeah.
And Ty and Nat are like getting very sick of kind of the rule breaking girls who don't really seem to understand how hard it is to survive and almost kind of seem like they're still on vacation. While like Ty's trying not to kill them all at night and Nat's trying not to die while hunting them food that doesn't seem to exist. Nat and Ty's surrogate child, Shauna, sadly, is still in the meat shed. Nobody went to get her, which Coach
Now this
Ben,
is where this is so disturbing right now.
It's really
where
bad.
This goes.
Probably one of the most powerful and scary moments from any of the cold opens. So Shauna is in the meat shed and Jackie encourages her to braid the hair of her dead corpse because if she braids her hair, no one will see that Shauna ate her ear. You know,
cover
logical.
The ear up.
Okay,
yeah, that makes it tracks.
Weird, but sure. And as that begins to happen, they're having so much fun, reminiscing about all these fun times, that Jackie's makeup box miraculously appears. And Jackie's like, oh, do my makeup. Please, do my makeup. So Shauna obliges, and while Jackie looks alive in her memory, it is not creepy. But once you see her dead body, it is very creepy.
It's extremely creepy. And
Joker
I don't know,
energy.
I don't remember who said this, which of the girls said this in the previous episode, but basically called Shauna Norman Bates.
Mm-hmm.
And this
it's
is
pure Norman
legitimately
Bates.
What Norman Bates did.
Literally, and not only that, but Shauna goes one step further because in a very, 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 very good scene, I mean, this show is just so good, but Jackie gets a knife and starts to cut away at her own flesh. And she's like, come on, you're running out of food. Don't I look delicious? And Shauna's like, stop it. And Jackie says, well, you're the one holding the knife. And obviously it's just Shauna there cutting up her dead body of her friend. It's very gross and terrifying. And cut to those awesomely 90s credits. And guess who's back? We're always harsh to her. I feel like today
She's getting worse.
She's getting worse, honestly. She does do one vaguely
worse.
redemptive thing, but Callie's back. Guess what? She's still the worst. She's dealing with the fact her parents almost certainly killed Adam by getting high with her boyfriend, who she then immediately dumps because he offers to make her chocolate chip pancakes. Or his mum offers to make her chocolate chip pancakes. I say take the win. Like, why does that make you mad?
Eat the pancakes and then do it.
She's literally like, my parents don't care about me, blah, blah, blah. Everything's terrible. And then you have your boyfriend who's like, well, my mum does care about you and would like to make you a delicious breakfast. And she's like, no, I'm breaking up with you. Fuck you. So still the worst, honestly, at this point. Callie probably could have done with some time in the wilderness to teach her how to behave a little bit better.
She would have become a cult leader, I think.
Oh,
as well.
yeah.
She would have become
she does have big Shauna energy. I'm not going to lie. Like, I think that's why she has so much beef with her mum, is because she's actually really similar to her. And back in the 90s, Van has to stalk Nighttime Ty, who has broken out of her ropes and essentially almost sleepwalks off the edge of a snowy
she's
cliff.
Like stepbrothers sleepwalking towards the edge of the cliff.
That's a good call. And it is like she's going off that cliff, but luckily, she's going.
Now
Like,
let me ask you this: she has a vision as she is being led to the cliff. She sees. Now this is the 90s, right? And she sees like an anime version of Vincent from Pulp Fiction. Is the only way I would describe this person.
Yes. Now, if you're wondering who anime Vincent Pulp Fiction is, if you remember in the first season, Ty had all these memories of her grandma, and her grandma used to see an eyeless man. And this is the first time, unless you go through at half speed of the credit sequence where you actually get that clip, you get to see him again here. So it's very creepy. And it almost leads Ty to a certain death. But Van stops her because Van's the immortal gay who apparently can do anything and never dies, which we love. And but as they head back to the cabin, we see that the tree that Ty almost walked past over the edge of the cliff had the cult symbol.
Dun, 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 dun,
dun. So it's probably there's some supernatural occurrences.
There's
something. It seems. There's something that the girls are connecting to with this symbol. Lottie seems to think it's for protection, but it is clearly growing as a source of power, even if it's just through a group delusion. And talking of Lottie, Van is like, you should go to her for help. Remember when she gave Travis that boner vision and now he's chill and he doesn't have panic attacks anymore? And
he's totally he's totally fine now.
He's just good.
And doesn't have any troubling thoughts at all.
You'll never see that. You will see this episode. He doesn't have any problems. That didn't establish a strange connection between the two of them that you might not want for your girlfriend. But Ty refuses and she's like, no, fuck that. And you're not going to talk to Lottie about this either. And it's kind of clear you're seeing this chasm grow between the Nat and Ty and this kind of logical faction, and then Lottie, who's still blessing people all over the place, and she's blessing them when they go out to hunt, and she's making blood tea, all kinds of shenanigans. Sadly, in the future, present day, adult Ty is not really doing much better, and she's decided to fend off nighttime Ty. She's gonna go Nightmare on Elm Street.
Hashtag never sleep. That is Ty's,
never sleep.
That is Ty's philosophy.
Look,
never sleep, baby.
She is drinking 50 coffees a day. They don't show it, but I'm sure she's also taking some caffeine pills. This is it's Freddy Krueger 101, and I'll tell you two things. Anyone who's seen those films know that is only effective for so long. Plus, anyone who has struggled with mental health issues knows sleep deprivation only makes things 1,000,000 times worse. So this is a terrible idea. Terrible idea. And I really wish she would just listen to her estranged wife and get some help. I'm not quite sure why she hasn't done that yet. That's kind of a big question I have after this episode.
Well, I think I know. And I think it's because, she just entered into this very, very high stress, very important job as a state senator from the great state of New Jersey. And I think when you're in that kind of dream job, high pressure, high performing space, the last thing that you want to do is admit that, hey, I turned into a different person at night. I cut off the head of dogs. I eat dirt. I don't remember things that I do.
Blood sacrifice.
Yeah, and basically the only way I can cope is by never, ever sleeping. And don't worry, I can handle this. This is totally fine. I am going to be able to perform my duties as the state senator to the great state of New Jersey. I'm fine.
I think you make many good points. I would say, if I were in Ty's life, I would counter with just go to the therapist and be like, I'm feeling a bit fucked up. I think I might be seeing things. Can you keep it quiet? I'm going to go to an expensive therapist so nobody tell. I feel like there's a compromise, but I appreciate her dedication to this absolutely terrible idea that is just pure Nightmare on Elm Street. Is that really where you're getting your best ideas, best self-care ideas from?
Well, we're going to get to how crazy it gets for Ty shortly, but she can't go another 48 hours like this.
You'll die.
At this rate, she can't go. She can't keep doing this.
No.
She can't. Physically, she won't be able to continue doing this.
Unsustainable. And speaking of things that were getting unsustainable, but this may see an end to this one particular kind of tragedy, Nat and Travis go off. They continue their search for Harvey that they're doing every day. They're not having any luck finding game. They kind of have a little argument because Nat's like, I'm not doing the blessing stuff anymore, and Travis is like, nah, Lottie's tea, it's just a symbol, you just got to be more open-minded. They go off, and it turns out that Nat finds Travis's little brother Harvey. She finds his bloodied shorts in the wilderness, and it seems like, at least from this episode, Travis, while finding that very tragic, ends up accepting that Harvey is likely gone. And it's been 2 months in the snow. So
where is he?
Where is he?
If he's not dead, where is he?
There is a Stranger Things style, Lost style kind of military base or something like that. It's not looking good for Harvey. And the shorts seem to be a momentary end to that quest. Lottie doesn't believe it, though, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And speaking of Lottie, in the modern day, cult's going strong. They're wearing their heliotrope robes. She's showing Nat around, and she's like, it's not purple, it's heliotrope. And they're not a cult, Jason. They're actually an intentional community.
I get it. Yeah. No, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to call you guys a cult.
How could we do that? She also claims that the not cult were never going to kidnap Nat until they broke into her room. May I just say
they had to do it,
and she was about to commit suicide, so they had to do it, and there was no other choice. And isn't she lucky that Lottie saved her?
Yeah.
Shauna, meanwhile, is trying to kind of connect with Callie, and she's saying, like, do you want to go to the mall? You want to run up some credit card debt on your dad? Honestly, sounds great. Feel like Callie should just embrace it. If you think your mom's a murderer, maybe nice her up a bit. I don't know. Seems silly to me. But Cop Kevin, who you may remember went to high school with the girls and was in a relationship with Nat, like a kind of a dodgy relationship with Nat, he turns up, and lo and behold, he's got a lot of questions about Adam.
Who's Adam? I don't know. Oh, we had a fender bender, and then we texted a couple times.
And
we texted a lot?
1,000 texts?
I don't know.
She's like, we had to sort things out, and it's here that we see, I would say probably more for her own self-preservation, but it is a rare moment of solidarity from Callie, who comes in and is like, Mum, we've got to go to the mall. It's going to shut. So stop being talked to by this. And the cop's like, okay, sure. I guess I'll go. And Kevin, Cop Kevin, off he goes. Though obviously, I have to say, Misty was right. Shauna is an idiot. She is the most suspicious person of all time. You could just been like, hey, and she's like, oh, do I need a lawyer? And he's like, oh, why would you need a lawyer? No, that's what you should have said first.
Yeah. Let me have my lawyer here.
Yeah.
And honestly, don't answer any fucking questions. And you can't say, I don't remember this guy, and then be like, oh yeah, we had a very significant interaction regarding a car crash.
And we texted.
And we texted
times.
a lot.
I think he says he's like, yeah, there's hundreds of texts. And she's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that guy just slipped my mind. How's he doing? Oh, is he dead? Oh shit.
Wait, Adam. Oh no, I missed that. That's so tragic for his family and the people who care about him, which definitely didn't include me. And while Shauna's making the Adam situation 10,000 times worse, Misty, once again,
oh my gosh,
doing the work, trying to put these kind of snooping suspicions of some of her friends on the true crime forum. She's trying to wipe those away. She's the only one who cares about it. She's the only one who's keeping up to date with it. And she's still the only one who cares about Nat. She's calling people. She's saying,
that's right.
Ty, Shauna, Nat, I think she has fallen, a foot to foul play. We got to help her. And these motherfuckers just are not answering the phone. Ty, kind of understandable. Shauna, what are you doing?
Ty's got a lot of her own thing going. Well, to be fair to, Shauna is embroiled in the ongoing responsibilities that come from committing a murder and needing to cover it up. So that is an issue.
But she's not doing anything. That's the problem. She's just chilling. She's trying to go to the mall. I'm like, go to the mall with Misty. She might give you a tip on how to not.
She's having sex in the apartment of her former murder victim.
She's terrible. And honestly, at this point, Misty is so good at dealing with this shit that I'm wishing that she hadn't tried to poison people back in the 90s, because she might have been at some use with all the fucked up shit that's going on. Because guess what? No surprises here. Ty eventually finds the disgusting Norman Bates mother-style corpse of Jackie, which the production design did so well on this.
It's
it is
chilling.
Haunting.
It is really, really chilling. If, to be fair to Shauna, this is a very stressful situation. It was high stress before the plane crash. Now they're starving. She has a lot of
guilt, obviously.
She's got a lot of guilt. She got dosed with hallucinogenics at least once, very badly, and who knows how many more times. And so, she's under a tremendous amount of strain. But this is if you saw this, you'd be like, holy shit, this is serious. This is really bad.
Jasmine Savoy Brown, who plays Ty, does such a great job in this. She is this perfect mix of just absolute fucking rage and like deep heartbreak. Because she loves Shauna, but she's just like, you cannot do this. Like, and I've been telling everyone, I've been here and I've been saying, please, she cannot do this. Stop her from doing this. Don't let her out there. This isn't okay. And everyone's just been like, no, let's leave it. We don't want to have to deal with it right now. And obviously, at this point, Ty is like fucking done. And she's like, we're burning the body. Lottie does not argue, which I think could be argued as quite an important moment going forward, because Lottie's been very much on Shauna's side. And that's it. They're going to build a pyre. They're going to burn Jackie. And everything's going to go back to as normal as it can be for being in the wilderness. Because, you know, she won't be able to be Norman Bates anymore. The body will be gone. And they can just move on.
And honestly, it's a solid plan.
It really
until
is
it
a
isn't.
solid plan. Exactly. Until it very much is not.
Yeah.
And while Ty is kind of being the logical force in the past, in the present, she's still drinking like 5,000 coffees, and she's pleasantly surprised to see that her lovely young son, Sammy, has arrived at her beautiful townhouse home to see their new dog, Steve. Love Steve. Glad he's still alive.
Man, Steve, just keep thriving in a very tough situation. We're all pulling for you, Steve.
Very
we
proud
hope you
of you,
make it.
Steve. Like, we believe in you. We believe you can survive. So she calls her wife, which I actually have to say, good move, Ty.
Responsible.
Wasn't sure you were there. That was quite responsible. She calls her wife. The wife arrives at her house, which strangely the door has been chained and Ty has been asleep. And it seems a bit like, well, where's Sammy? And they realize he left. And then in one of the best moments, the kind of most chilling moments of the episode, which is saying a lot for this episode, Ty and her wife get a phone call from the school. And the school says, why was Sammy never picked up? And it turns out that Sammy was never in Ty's house and has been at her school the whole time waiting for his mum to pick him up. And it is just absolutely gut punch horrible to realize just how bad Ty has been struggling.
It's as bad as it gets. And I suspected from the first when he showed up that this was
because he's just in that. He's just
real.
There.
Yeah, he just is there, and it just didn't sit right. And you know, for Ty's ex, this must be really, really, really scary, and it only gets scarier from here. Yeah,
it's terrifying because they get this phone call, and then dun dun dun, in a hint that we might actually be seeing nighttime Ty in the daytime. Ty gives this kind of inscrutable look and then just crashes her car into oncoming traffic with her wife in it. And it is there's been a lot of debate whether this is intentional or unintentional, but there's definitely a question there. This is not a sleep-deprived crash. There was a moment where a choice was made to accelerate.
I agree with this. And I have to say, you know, we talked about this in our previous recap. This idea that I have that there is some reason that Ty can't get fired. Like, I feel like, you know, originally I thought maybe Lottie put some sort of post-hypnotic suggestion in, and it's very, you know, and is, you know, wants an important ally in government or something like that. Maybe that's not it, because Lottie doesn't, unless she's
It's unclear what Lottie's role is.
Yeah, unless Lottie is playing a much more nefarious game than we suspect. I guess I'm leaning away from that now, but it still feels like whatever is going on, part of it is that it remains important for Ty to be in government. And for whatever reason, nighttime Ty really doesn't want anything having to do with her existence exposed, because that would cause daytime Ty to have to step down. And I agree with the take that this seemed like a choice. Now, whether it's nighttime Ty or daytime Ty's choice to drive into oncoming traffic and potentially kill her estranged wife in order to keep this secret, I don't know. But I think it's a choice.
Yeah.
Whose choice, I don't know, but it feels like a choice.
It seems intentional and very... It's a really creepy and sad moment that kind of lets you know how lost Ty is and how alone she is in this moment too. And it's not the only... We get another great, really creepy moment sort of that follows this interaction, which is Misty Quigley, good old serial killer Misty, who yet somehow manages to be the hero of this show, is working at the old people's home where she has inevitably killed many people. I have to just point that out. And she hears a strange new voice, and it's Elijah Wood, who we knew was going to be appearing.
That's right.
And it is her online frenemy, Walter. He has a very scary username. His username's like putting the sick in forensics. So I'm sure these two are going to get on very well. But he's there basically scoping out Misty and leaves her a little spooky note.
I can't wait for these two to get together. It feels like it's going to happen.
Perfect casting.
Yeah.
You know, we know that Misty has been alone for a long time and has always been seeking out companionship. And also, I mean, this is the thing we haven't really delved into yet. It was hinted at just before Adam was murdered. But there's got to be people out there who are obsessed with the Yellowjackets. Like, if you're a true crime nut, these people are like celebrities to you. So I do wonder if Walter will have that kind of interest where he's like a Yellowjacket super fan.
That makes a lot of sense to me. You know, as a person who spends some time on Reddit, I think that he's clearly alongside Misty all the way deep down in several rabbit holes. And it would make sense that the Yellowjackets, their history, what happened in the wilderness, is a rabbit hole for a lot of people.
Yeah, completely. And we see Misty kind of realizing that she may have made a new friend in this strange kind of frenemy situation she has with Walter. And as she is doing that, her beloved BFF Nat is being told a story by Lottie, which I'm very excited to talk about because I think it poses a lot of questions. So,
I agree.
Nat obviously thinks Lottie killed Travis and stole all his money, which is what the evidence points towards. But Lottie says no.
It does.
It really does. Let's be real. That's the Occam's razor version. Like,
it truly does.
But Lottie says Travis called her asking for help. He said the wilderness is coming for him, and the only way to fix it was to have a near-death experience. Because in the woods, when Lottie smashed her head against the window and almost died, and when Van was definitely killed or almost killed by a wolf, afterwards they both claimed they had visions. So Lottie goes there and she says, no, please, I promise, like, we're going to make this better. And she thinks that she's calmed him down out of this sort of near psychotic break. But she wakes up and he has set up an extremely convoluted and dangerous auto-asphyxiation ritual.
Yeah, involving construction equipment.
A crane and a chain.
Yeah, we don't need that. It's unnecessary, Travis.
My friend, it could have just been a doorknob and a rope. I mean, I don't condone this in any way. A belt.
I don't condone it whatsoever.
Do not do it. It's a bad idea. But if you are going to do it, not with a crane.
Knot up some sweatpants.
Literally,
we don't need to
ask
get all
Lottie to lean on
involved.
Your neck.
Yeah.
Like something. And Lottie claims that she told Travis, please don't do this. And he said, I'm going to do it whether you're here or not. So, of course, Lottie did the responsible thing and was like, I'll press the button. I'll press the crane button so that when you lose consciousness, I'll bring you back. And you will have seen the wilderness and it will all be okay. Just unbelievably bad idea. Everyone here, I realize, is just up to shenanigans. Whether this was a lie from Lottie, it's a terrible lie if it was. If it's the truth, it's almost more embarrassing because you're just like, this is so much bad decision making. Like, you are in charge of a wellness community and you're just allowing a man to do this? Just terrible, terrible plan. So, in this incredibly safe situation that the pair of them have created, apparently, Lottie tried to press the button to bring Travis back down after his unconscious asphyxiation experience, but the button got stuck. Now, this is the big question. Do we believe that the button got stuck? Lottie tells Nat it was a tragic accident, but we then see a different version of events that she does not share with Nat, which include a magical gust of wind, the crane just going up and taking Travis, 15, 20, 30, 40 feet into there. And even a supernatural ghost in the form of ex-Yellowjackets team member and faithful Christian who baptized Lottie, Laura Lee. So there's just a lot going on here. What was your take on this situation? Where do you think the truth lies?
I think that she is telling the truth, but left out the part about the Laura Lee vision, which is real. I should also note that it seems that our good friend Lottie is a more powerful vasoconstrictor than Cialis or Viagra, because not only is it the phalluses of teenage boys who she's able to make rise like the dead, but it is also these cranes that
They all rise
just go up. Anything that can go up when Lottie is around,
it goes
weaving her spell, it will go up. And that is worth noting, because again, here again is another hint that maybe there is something supernatural going on.
Yeah, and we're about to get, as that very specific point that you have about the way things change in the environment of Lottie, whether it's wind or cranes or boners or all kinds of things, becomes even more relevant as the episode kind of goes on. So in the wilderness, they're getting ready to burn Jackie's body. And the JV squad, I want to say, make a very good point. They're like, shouldn't we just take her clothes off? Because we need clothes and we're in the wilderness. And Sean is like, fuck you. You can't steal her clothes. I've been cutting chunks out of her body and eating her ear, but that's really crossing a line. And then we interestingly skip to the present day, where we get to see some big Shauna energy coming from Callie, who is in a bar with her friend, abandons her friend so she can chat to a mustachioed man at the bar. And, you know, she's flirting with him, and she just spends 2 hours there just spilling her guts, telling him everything. And it is big Shauna behavior, because guess what? That man is a cop who is investigating her mum with Cop Kevin.
Our good friend John Paul Reynolds, Drew Gardner from Search Party.
Yes, it was so good. As soon as I saw him, I was like, this is immaculate, like S-tier casting. Search Party is so good, and he is so good in it. And he just brings, it's a different energy, but you still really get that similar kind of vibe. And it's so good. I can't wait to see where this goes, because Callie obviously sees him as like a potential romantic partner. And as Cop Kevin tells him, like, you can't just go around pretending to be undercover. Like, at some point, you're just going to be in this girl's house, like, arresting her mom. Like, where do you think this is going?
After, honestly, with the way Callie is moving, having sex with her daughter and smoking marijuana.
It's absolutely probably what's going to happen. And also, I love that this is just another character. Is another morally grey like character who's obviously just going to get completely swept up in this kind of chaos of Shauna's family. And it kind of blows my mind that from what we're hearing from the way Cop Kevin approaches it and the way we see Callie approach it, it doesn't really seem like Shauna's been in the radar of the police before, which blows my mind, because she is legitimately, let's put it in a polite way, she's a very troubled individual.
Yes.
And I believe that much of that trouble came from her time in the wilderness, and it is she who finally, you know, lights the pyre and sets Jackie's body on fire.
Let me ask you this. We are seeing now, over the course of this season, just how troubled Shauna was. Now, her adult life is certainly dramatic and messy. She's committed a murder, is her ongoing efforts to cover up that murder, yada, yada, yada. But the rest outside the murder, outside of that, it's just kind of like, you know, adult drama and messiness. So when or how did this kind of almost psychosis around Jackie, when did it stop, or even did it stop? And what things that modern day Shauna are doing, or what people that modern day Shauna is interacting with, are potentially not real? Because it feels like, or even is modern day Shauna continuing to speak with Jackie, with a version of Jackie?
I think this is a huge question because we get a hint even before Shauna kills Adam. We see her kill that bunny in her garden. I think there has always been a lingering effect of whatever she went through in the wilderness that has stayed there, and a tendency for violence that may have well been there before. Because we saw, but even before Jackie died, Shauna was the one who was going to cut Travis's throat on the night of doom coming. Yeah. So I love the idea that it really never stopped. She just got better at repressing it or hiding that side of herself. And I think you ask a great question about, does Shauna still speak to Jackie? I think that could be such a cool conceit and a way to have an adult Jackie in the season if we reveal that at times of stress, or maybe something that gets triggered as the show goes on, that we see adult Shauna talking to adult Jackie. I think that would just be so cool, especially because it's the only way we're going to get to see her, because Jackie is very much dead.
And is she seeing anything just generally that no one else is seeing? Like what other things from her subconscious or manifesting is real? I just wonder if that's continuing, and it feels like something we should try and keep track of.
I think that's a really smart point, especially because until they had to dispose of his body at the end of last season, I did wonder whether Adam was like a figment of Shauna's imagination. You know, it was a very private, separate relationship that no one else knew about. And I was like, there's a version of this where the relationship isn't happening, or it was a one-time thing. But no, she killed him. And then they chopped up his body with a electric turkey knife. Yeah, thanks, Misty. That's a great idea. Yeah. And speaking of delightful Misty, our secret hero of Yellowjackets, she gets a letter, which is, of course, in the most true crime lover courtship ever, written in invisible ink. She has a UV torch and she reads it, and she gets invited by her true crime buddy who stalked her to her work. So I would say red flag, don't go, but I'm sure in Misty's eyes this is like green flag, definitely go. She is invited to play FBI agent with him. He wants her to pose as a federal agent so they can interview a man who was staying at the hotel with Nat. Sounds like it's going to go very badly for that man, but good for Misty. I'm sure that the two of them will have a lot of fun. And now, we've all been waiting for it. I have to say, I was not sure if it would happen this quickly.
I didn't think it would. I thought they might work up to it, but that bodes, I think, very, very well for the rest of the season that we're accelerating like this.
Absolutely. So it's the evening of Jackie's cremation. Everyone has hidden themselves away in cozy corners of the cabin to wait until her body is, no more. And Nat and Travis start getting intimate. And while Nat seems very into it and is focused on Travis, who's obviously going through this great tragedy of losing his brother, Travis is just thinking about strange, ghostly Lottie. And it is very unsettling. It feels almost like some kind of astral projection. Lottie is watching over him in this kind of virginal white nightgown as they have sex. And it would have just been a kind of strange, boner vision oddity had it not directly. It directly leads into some very intentional and just brilliant cinematography of this almost sentient gust of wind flying through the woods.
The wind again.
The wind again. And it knocks a huge amount of snow onto Jackie's body. And as Nat and Travis continue to hook up, we see that the flames, rather than being, muted by the snow, instead begin to roar. And the snowpack on top of Jackie means that her body becomes beautifully steamed and
it's a
baked.
It's a wonderful roast.
It's
intentional. A slow roast. Instead of being devoured by the fire, we've got a nice, a wonderful slow roast in which Jackie is kind of slow cooked in her own juices.
And the snow is keeping her moist. And essentially, what we have here, I think it is fair to say, the wilderness serves Jackie up perfectly cooked to the girls. And they wake up and they all say, what is that? And it's unclear. It's the early hours of the morning, probably, and they're all awakened by this delightful scent of roasting meat. And they rush outside, and they all sort of look at the body and wonder whether they're going to do what we all knew that they were going to eventually do. Shauna touches her belly, and she says, they want this too, talking about the baby. And then we get this really fun... It's great because this leans very much into the supernatural elements and the mythological elements of the show. But co-showrunner who wrote this episode, Jonathan Lisco, has confirmed that this is more about delusion and allowing themselves to do what they need to do. So we get this great moment of all of the survivors in this Grecian finery at this grape-filled table full of dried fruits and delicious meats and wines. And as that version of them begins to touch the food on the table, we see Shauna reach for her knife and cut a chunk out of Jackie. And she eats it, and the feast begins.
Coach Ben,
he's
who
not feeling
has to
it.
think he's not. He terrified flees from the scene because he has to think, I'm next.
Oh, it has to be. Absolutely. I have to say, if we're talking about strategy here, I think Coach Ben flopped this one hard. I know it's a scary sight. There's like 20 kids. They're just feasting on a body. They're eating all the body. They got their faces in there. They're eating the organs. They're covered in meat. But you know what? If you're trying to survive, I would have just gone over there and like pretended to eat some.
Pretended?
Just something. Just been like, oh yeah, delicious. Oh, I'm going inside now. I'm a bit tired of these crutches. He just breezes. Also, we'll just say, lots of interesting Ben character work. Because Ben didn't stop them from putting Jackie outside, which is basically when he lost the juice to tell them to do anything. So he has a lot of guilt around that. Then this episode, he doesn't do a good job of getting Shauna out of there, even though he is the adult, inverted commas. He is the oldest person there. And then he doesn't go over and say, oh my God, what are you doing? This is terrible. Like, that's your friend, which I do believe in that moment could arguably have woken them out of this kind of group delusion. Instead, he just hides. So it's very interesting, but yeah, I agree with you. He's next. I mean, the odds on Ben surviving this without getting eaten have just dropped exponentially.
What are your thoughts? Because, when you're hungry and then you eat, I would imagine much like the act of sexual union, which this feast was definitely a metaphor for and has been a metaphor for over the course of this series. I wonder if there's going to be a moment of reflection once they've eaten,
absolutely.
And what the reaction is going to be. Are they going to be like, "Holy shit"?
I also think they're going to be very sick because think about if you haven't eaten for a long time, even eating the smallest amount of food can be really hard. Let alone eating human flesh. I also think this sets up a very interesting dual kind of sliding doors, but obviously not a rom-com situation going forward, which is. Anything that happened before this, we had the argument, is it supernatural? Is it, real? I think after this, that question is going to become even more blurred because one of the scientific takeaways that they've done from the very small studies of people who eat humans is it can give you a brain infection called Kuru. And that brain infection can make you hallucinate. It can make you ill. It can make you experience all kinds of terrible things. So I also think that now that they've eaten Jackie and they've eaten this flesh, it's going to be very hard for us to know what is and isn't real from here on out because it's probably going to affect them. And as we know, this isn't going to be the last time that they do this.
What? Okay, let's unpack some of the supernatural stuff in this because I guess we're leaning now towards either there's some very, very persistent and severe mental illness that everybody is kind of having like a shared delusion of
and we're
some
not getting
sort.
And we're not getting we are getting unreliable narrators in that case because I think the biggest argument here for the supernatural is the snowpack falling on the tree seeming intentional. I do truly believe there is a version of the end of this season or the next season where we learn that actually that was a group of the girls who went out and prepared Jackie. And they basically just oh, something magical happened and it was meant to be. That's why.
Right.
I think
they
there's a version
can't
like
admit
that.
to themselves that they actually went out and and intended to eat their friend. That makes a lot of sense to me as well. That and as we saw from the episode, they kind of participate in this grand hallucination in order to like make the eating of Jackie kind of okay. So I think that there is something to that. But it still feels like, gosh, every time we are coming along to a murder, there's sex involved, and then there's some sort of gust of wind or something that happens.
Very ritualistic.
Yeah, very ritualistic. And I can't wait to find out what the fuck is going on and what this symbol means.
Can we... The big question is, are they going to be able to long it out like successfully and keep people engaged? Is it going to be the Twin Peaks problem where they're told they have to solve it too quickly? Or is it going to be the Lost problem where they have it almost go on for so long that people start to, become confused or questioning about what the real outcome is? I'm very interested to see, because I do think if you just go by what we're shown, this episode, I think you could say something supernatural is happening. Lottie saw a ghost of Laura Lee. Lottie felt like the crane was taken up without her to kill Travis. So in that case, what is the supernatural? Is it this idea of the wilderness? Is it a cult that already exists in this space that is using these kids as sacrifices? Is this something that they've almost manifested themselves just out of a need to survive? I'm very interested to see where it goes, because at the moment, it's just really cool, brave storytelling. And I totally agree with you. It bodes very well that they did not wait until the finale and keep teasing this idea of cannibalism. Instead, they just went for it. They were like, it's happened now. Here's the fallout. And there's still, you're only 2 episodes into the season.
Do you think there's going to be a bad guy? Because I was really leaning towards Lottie created this cult, and a lot of the stuff that's going on now is because of Lottie's cult, and she's continuing to pull the strings with Ty and with others, and maybe in ways that they don't even understand that they're being manipulated. But after this episode, I'm honestly not so sure. But it still feels like there's
somebody,
either someone else or a group
master
of other people. Yeah, that is behind some of this stuff.
I think that Lottie seems to be the obvious option, but I do agree that after this episode, I think Lottie believes in this stuff because she believes it is protection. I actually believed when she told Nat that she sent the people there to help her, and it was just kind of this bad organization. I am a believer that Shauna could be the one who was the Antler Queen that we first saw in the first season, and that Shauna has some deeper involvement in all of this because she's just like a chaotic void at the center of all of the problems that are going on. I also do believe, I'm leaning more into the idea that there might be an unseen figure or an unseen group that we're yet to meet. The people who put the symbol there in the first place in the cabin, the ones who were connected to the dead man in the attic when they first found it. I think there might be a big pull out from the camera where we kind of get a bigger picture scene that some other people are involved. But I can't wait to see.
Well, we're going to continue our coverage of this truly appalling and intriguing show. Up next, Nerd Out.
In today's Nerd Out, where you tell us what you love and why, or share a theory that you're really excited about, Danielle shares our first Yellowjackets theory, which I mean, that's a big success. This is a big milestone for us because we get a lot of the comic book, the TV theories, but Yellowjackets, this is a first.
Danielle opens with, I am freaking out. Thinking of the new red shirt girl, Crystal, who likes to sing, she entices Misty with the opportunity to harmonize. I thought that the creepy Satan Girls Choir, a phrase coined credit to Kelly Anakin of the Blood Hive podcast, was just for a dramatic music effect. Now I wonder if Misty and her new duet partner are actually going to be responsible for inventing and performing said creepy vocalizations as part of the ritual. Oh!
Dun, dun, dun!
What if Crystal, who loves drama club, is also responsible for the production of the rituals, from costuming to stage production? Thank you, Danielle Rickard. This is great.
This is so legit, Because think about this. We already had that group delusion. They're wearing the Grecian outfits. That made them feel like everything was okay. There's a version of this where Crystal and Misty, we know Misty's kind of on the outs of this. She just does it, whatever's going to get her in with the group and keep her surviving. There's definitely a version where they sort of put these on as plays. So they feel like, when you take off the mask, you're no longer that character. It's the same way that slasher movie killers often wear masks. They can't kill without the mask. I think there is a lot to this. And I think we could really see it become quite a prominent part of where the story goes.
There's a lot to this, too. And it really makes me think of something that I was kind of like knocking around in my head during our conversation, which is no one knows what happened in the woods. And there are a lot of people there, including people who, we're just meeting now.
Yeah.
That aren't part of like the core group, which means they really, really stayed strong and no one spoke to anyone, which makes me wonder, like, if this kind of shared hallucination that they participated in, if they're almost continuing to do it in their adulthood. It just feels like maybe they are the secret villain, because it's really incredible that none of them have ever told the story. That's like the fact that it must get really fucking crazy for none of them to have ever told.
Right? The shame and the horror of what they've done. Also, I wonder, is there someone like Misty, who's very smart? I understand why Nat thought of this in those first episodes of the first season. Maybe there's someone like Misty who kept proof to keep everyone quiet, to, protect everyone. Maybe there's somebody who has the tools to say, well, if you try and talk about it, then I can prove that you were just as culpable as everyone else. And if she was part of this costuming and development part of the rituals, that would have probably been quite easy for her to keep.
Yeah, I think so too. Wow, this
Danielle,
is so exciting.
You're blowing our mind. That was so
Thanks,
good.
Danielle. If you have theories or passions you want to share, hit us up at xray@crooked.com. Instructions are in the show notes. Well, that's it for us. Rosie, any plugs? Plugs.
Plugs. You can find me here twice a week. It's always talking about cool stuff. I'm covering Yellowjackets every week at IGN. You can read all kinds of cool stories and theories there. You can find me at Rosie Marks on Instagram and Letterboxd. And yeah. And what about watching Primo? May 19th.
Hey, Primo, May 19th on Amazon Freevee. Wherever you get your Freevee or Amazon, that's where you can watch it. And also, for the X-Ray Vision heads out there listening to this current podcast on which we are speaking, catch the next episode of X-Ray Vision on Friday, April 7th for more of The Mandalorian and our coverage of the 2-episode finale of The Bad Batch. And don't forget, we're bringing you 2 episodes a week. That's twice the tinfoil hat theories, twice the roasted Jackie, twice the deep dives, twice the everything.
And you can subscribe on YouTube to watch twice the everything. Plus, you can follow us at XRVPod on Twitter and check out the Discord to hang out with us. Amazing listeners and fans who just always talking about cool stuff, recommending cool things to watch and do. It's a total riot in there.
5-star ratings. We need them. We gotta have them. You gotta give them to us. Here's Big Rob Fed. Need them, want them, gotta have them. Yes, thank you, Big Rob Fed. We love it.
We love it. Thank you.
See you next time. You're pirates. All right.